Hey super second graders. So in my last video, we identified the story elements from the story, The Three Little Pigs, all right? And I have my paper right here. I really enjoyed this story and I hope you did also. And today what we're gonna do is we're gonna read another version of The Three Little Pigs, and we're gonna identify the story elements in that story. So I have my first set of notes, and I'm gonna put this book back here. And just like last time, I want you to get your materials ready for today, okay? You're gonna need another sheet of paper and something to write with. So if you need to go and get that from another room in your house, go ahead and get it, and then come back and press play. All right, hopefully you have your materials. We're gonna go ahead and get our paper ready again. So I'm gonna fold it the hamburger way. Then I'm gonna fold it one more time, so that when I open it up, I have 4 rectangles. And then you are going to write and label your 4 boxes with the story elements. So remember, we have characters. That means who or what is in the story. The setting of the story, which is where or when your story takes place. We have our problem, or what goes wrong in the story. And we have our solution. How is the problem solved, and how does the story end? So take a moment and pause the video to label your paper just like mine. When you are ready to continue, just press play. All right, so this version of The Three Little Pigs is a little bit different. So while I'm reading, I want you to not only think about the story elements, but I want you to start thinking about how is this story similar and how is this story different than the first version that we read. Okay, so you're doing a lot of thinking while I'm reading. This book is called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs by A. Wolfe, as told to John Sieska, illustrated by Lane Smith. So it says here, by A. Wolfe. So this means that the narrator who's telling the story, it's actually the wolf. So the wolf is going to tell us his side of the story. So this looks like it's like a newspaper headline, right? With the news, and it says, The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. The True Story of the Three Little Pigs by A. Wolfe, as told to John Sieska. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolfe. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. So he's saying, hey, I'm not a big bad wolf. It's not my fault that I eat little animals. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. A sneeze and a cup of sugar? This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. So what was he doing? He was baking a what? A cake. And he ran out of what? Sugar. Well, he had a really bad sneezy cold. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. That means he wasn't very smart. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on while I huffed and I sniffed. And I sneezed a great sneeze. Achoo! And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig. Dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. So the wolf is saying that he didn't mean to kill and eat the little piggy. He just, he sneezed. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar, so I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not by much. He had built his house out of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Ding dong. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, Go away, wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. Achoo! And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. That means Wolf is saying, I am telling you the truth. Now, you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better. And I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house out of bricks. So I'm thinking to myself as I'm reading it, how does this story compare to the first version that we read? I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again. That does sound a little rude, doesn't it? Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar. and he wouldn't give me even one little cup for my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Achoo! Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." Uh-oh. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow. But when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down this pig's door. And the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. So if you look at him here, he does look like he's trying to blow down the house, right? But the wolf's saying, "No, I was just sneezing and a little angry." The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down. And they made me the big bad wolf. That's it, the real story. I was framed. That means kind of like the news writers kind of made him look like a bad guy even though he wasn't. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. The end. So do you think the wolf is telling the truth? I don't know. I don't know what I think. But let's think about this for a little bit. And I want you to take some time on your own to try to fill in the story elements, okay? So what I want you to do is pause the video and try to fill in your character setting, problem, and solution. And when you're done, press the play button and we'll go over it together. All right, hopefully you filled this in. So let's think about this. The characters in the story are pretty similar to this version of the 3 Little Pigs, right? So what are the characters we had? We had the 3 little pigs. We had the wolf. Other small characters you might have included. Maybe you wrote down Granny, even though she doesn't make an appearance. The wolf talks about his granny a lot. At the end of the story, you have like the police or the cops, and you have all these news people taking pictures and writing stories. So I just wrote 3 Little Pigs and Wolf because I think those are the most important characters. So the setting here, let's see. This looks like, this is Wolf's house where he's baking the cake. So we have Wolf's house. And then we still have the three Little Pigs houses. The stick house, the straw house, and the brick house, right? And then the end, we have the wolf is in what? In jail or something. So we have the wolf's house. We have the 3 pig houses. And at the end, we have the jail cell. Okay. So that's what I wrote for my setting. The wolf's house, 3 pig houses, and jail. Okay. So the problem and the solution. Let's first focus on the problem. What goes wrong in this story, do you think? What do we think is Wolf's problem in the story? So Wolf is saying that all he needs is sugar, but his main problem is that he has a cold, which makes him sneeze and blow down all of these houses, and so then he just eats the pigs. So let's see. The problem, this one is kind of like a big problem. A lot goes wrong for the wolf, right? So I'm gonna write the wolf needs sugar and has a cold. Then I'm gonna write he sneezes and blows down the houses. He sneezes and blows down the house. This is what I have so far. The wolf needs sugar and has a cold. He sneezes and blows down the houses. And then we can write and kind of accidentally eats the pigs. And I'm going to write eats the pigs. But he says he was framed. He claims he, this is a little long, was framed. He says, I'm not actually a big bad wolf. People are just saying I am, but I just have a cold. Okay, so this is long, but I wrote, the wolf needs sugar and has a cold. He sneezes and blows down the houses and eats the pigs, but he claims he was framed. So the solution. How does the wolf solve his problem? Let's go to the end and see how the story ends. So, does he end up getting his sugar for his grandma's birthday cake? Nope, because remember the last pig, the third pig in the brick house, was not very polite, was a little rude, and wouldn't lend him any sugar. And so at the end of the story, he's in jail and he's still asking for sugar. He says, but maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar? So, is there really a solution for the wolf? There's not really a solution. The story just kind of ends with him in jail and saying that he's framed. So it's kind of a sad story for the wolf if everything he's telling us is true. So for the solution, I might just kind of cross it out because it doesn't really end well for the wolf. Maybe it ends well for the third pig because the wolf doesn't eat the third pig. But since this story is from the wolf's perspective, things don't really end well for the wolf. So I'm going to just cross out the solution. So take a moment and copy down what I have. Or if you did this on your own, high five to you. That is so awesome. All right, so next time what we're going to do is we're going to look at both of these to compare and contrast them. See you next time. Bye.